They call me Bairo, or sometimes Kuraman. I am the desert wind that has forever blown over the sands and rocky deserts of this strange and wondrous land, once called Rajputana, now Rajasthan, the land of kings, of Maharajas, whom Rudyard Kipling thought God created so that mankind could have a spectacle of jewels and marble palaces. There is a place in this land to which I always return, an enchanted valley with a tranquil lake whose name flows like music on my breath. Pichola. It was 4 centuries ago. Weary of battle, a Maharana descended from the oldest ruling family in the world rode into this valley. As I rushed to engulf him in my welcoming embrace, the elusive scent of wild lilies that had quietly stolen a ride on my back seized the opportunity to enchant him and lured him to the lake. The sight he saw before him convinced him to make this his home forever. Thus was born the fairy tale city of Udaipur, named after its founder, Maharana Uday Singh. I have floated through the fortified palace built by the Maharanas, swelling with pride at the reckless chivalry of the Udaipur clans, riding out to battle in their sacrificial saffron robes, preferring death to dishonor. In the rosy hue of dawn, Lake Pichola seems like a mirage, and floating on it, seemingly unreal, a summer palace, Jag Mandir, that once provided refuge to a rebel Mughal prince, later to become the Emperor Shah Jahan. It is said that memories of his stay here played on the emperor's mind as he conceived the incomparable Taj Mahal. But the Jag Mandir was to inspire another wonder. Jag Nivas, one of the most breathtakingly beautiful palaces you will ever see. I like to call it the Lady of the Lake. Come, let me take you there. Let me float you gently over Lake Pichola to Sadarghat, the gateway to this piece of paradise. A palace hotel like no other. A famous 19th century English traveller, James Todd, marvelled at the royal indulgences he witnessed at the Lake Palace.
Here they listened to the tales of the bard and slept off their noonday opiate amidst the cool breezes of the lake, wafting delicious odours from the myriads of lotus flowers. And as the fumes of the potion evaporated, they opened their eyes on a landscape to which not even its inspirations could frame an equal.
Across the centuries, I have time and again sneaked in here, spellbound by what I saw. Sometimes following the soft laughter of young women from the royal zanana, as they indulged themselves in the art of shringar, or self-adornment.
Hard not to be transported back to an era where fairy tales fade in comparison to the magic and opulence of the ceremonies and palaces. For me, that world coexists in beautiful harmony with the present. When you enter our world, you will find yourself surrounded by the depths of our rich heritage and culture.
As I glide through these gracious courtyards, time stands still, and memories haunt me. I forget the number of times I have been mischievously lured by a whiff of exquisite perfume, drawn irresistibly all the way to the royal spa. There was a time when only royalty could occupy these elegantly redesigned suites. Sajjan Nivas, once the private suite of the Maharana himself. It was here that decades ago, the present Maharana Arvind Singh Mewar was bequeathed a special legacy by his grandfather. He now lives across the lake, where I often lie in wait, hoping to steal a ride in his favorite Rolls-Royce.
The Lake Palace has always been the summer residence of the family, where not only the immediate family, but the entire palace establishment moved across the lake. As children, we were always very excited at the prospect of moving to the Lake Palace. It has an exceptional ambiance, which is unique and tranquil. And yet, just across the lake is the City Palace complex, the heart of the Udaipur experience. Today, we are very happy to share our summer residence with guests from all over the world.
Though time has passed, I realize with a sigh of relief that it has also stood still here. And though I am free to roam the lands, uncontained and unbound, I believe that I am somehow anchored to this magical, mystical place, tied possibly by my own heartstrings. But there is another place across the rocky plains to which I am also irresistibly drawn, the fabled pink city of Jaipur. Here you may listen in her own words to the story of a fairy tale princess and her true love and the fabulous palace in which they lived.
It was the summer of 1933. I was there when he arrived in England with his triumphant Jaipur polo team. The local newspapers couldn't have enough of him.
The young man who has everything is in London now. He possesses a fortune of £100 million, a £10 million palace, a room full of glittering gems, and 600,000 faithful subjects. Champion polo player of all India, he can ride a horse like a Cossack. And he has brought a team of princes together with 40 of the world's finest polo ponies to match their skill against England's crack performers.
A secret courtship blossomed between us, and just before I left for finishing school in Switzerland, Jay took me for a drive around Hyde Park and proposed to me. As the Second World War raged in Europe, I came here to Rambagh Palace as a Maharani of Jaipur. I was not its first Maharani, but something inside told me that Rambagh would be my palace, that this was home. A queen had finally come home. Where do I begin? How do I describe that feeling of magic that pervades the air at Rambagh? But you can sense it even today. the grace, opulence, and excess that was so much a part of my life.
My favorite Maharani, counted among the 10 most beautiful women in the world, is now a regal queen mother, the Rajmata of Jaipur.
Well, Rambagh was home. I had a beautiful room, a beautiful sitting room, a beautiful office. I ran the place. It was my home. I played tennis, I rode and everything. I did my work all from Rambagh. Rambagh was home to me, as it was to second Maharani, as it was to all the children and all. It was a home.
Set amongst 47 acres of landscape gardens, Rambagh seemed to me a palace built by a king, though fit for the gods. The palace excelled in gracious hospitality, and an invitation to stay at Rambagh was eagerly sought after. We played host to international celebrities and Indian royalty alike. Every guest was provided with a car and an aide-de-camp to look after his every need. Soon after I arrived at Rambagh as a bride, Jay had his rooms specially redecorated for me by his favourite designer, Hammonds of London. It is now called the Maharani Suite and flaunts a very different look. Except for the spectacular mirrored bathroom that I so adored. For those of us who lived at Rambagh, there will always be memories to cherish. Who can forget the cool breezes in the shaded verandas and high teas in the scalloped arched loggias? Or the troops of turbaned butlers, unfailingly attentive. Even back then, the palace was run with the well-oiled efficiency and elan of a great hotel. Our kitchens were our pride. Staffed by dozens of cooks specializing in Indian and European cuisine, they produced ceremonial meals of exquisite delicacy and refinement. Life at Rambagh was replete with ceremony and the arrival of many important visitors. Polo was a passion with my husband, and it became an integral part of our lives. The less active guests would take to the lumbering game of elephant polo. At Rambagh, the night was forever young. We often dined on the lawns, and there would be card games to follow. An enormous mosquito net enclosed the card tables, and large fans covered with jasmine flowers wafted scented air around us.
Rambagh's now a hotel. I can't live in it, but I've got fond of this little house too, which His Highness was going to live in. And then there's nothing more to say except I hope that Rambagh will always be a beautiful, beautiful residence for people to come and stay.
It is time to move on. But as always, I am reluctant to part company with Rajmata Gayatri Devi and the palace of Rambagh. But leave I must. on a journey across the Aravalli Ranges to the heart of the Indian peninsula, to the 400-year-old city of Hyderabad. Hyderabad, a place that reflects the old world grandeur of a culture inherited from the great Mughals themselves. A culture richly nuanced with feminine graces and refined ritual. One of Hyderabad's last rulers or Nizams, Mehboob Ali Pasha, was considered the richest man in the world. A man after my own heart, his generosity of spirit was matched by his penchant for the grand gesture, a quality that often put him at odds with the British Raj. Among the Nizam's many palaces, there is one that still takes my breath away. Falak Numa, mirror of the sky. Built in the 1880s by a rich grandee and acquired by the Nizam to please his favorite wife, who soon tired of it. An extravagant Italianate palace left intriguingly empty during most of its 100 years of existence. King George V and Queen Mary stayed here during their state visit to India in 1906. The Oriental Library once boasted of a priceless collection, including one of the earliest copies of the Quran. Falak Numa's interiors flaunted a lavish display of French and Italian exuberance, with ruched and ruffled valances stretching across the French windows. Elegant formal dinners were held in the banquet hall, which could comfortably seat 130 guests at a table laid with crested gold and silver cutlery. As I breeze through its colonnaded verandas, I can smell a renaissance in the air. Falak Numa, left empty for much of its life, is being transformed into one of the world's most unique and evocative palace hotels. I cannot wait to see it live up once more to its name, Falak Numa, mirror of the sky. It is time now to take you back with me to my home, to the edge of the desert, the great Thar Desert. In these open vistas, I roam free, overcoming all resistance, clashing my will against the steep escarpments of Mehrangarh Fort in the frontier city of Jodhpur. A place defiantly splashed with brilliant hues of color and music to mock the monochromes of the desert. Caravans from Central Asia and China have, through the ages, crawled through here, making Jodhpur a crossroads. In this entrepot in the Roaring Twenties, There ruled a Maharaja, Umaid Singh, known as the Monarch, for there was about him an extravagance of vision. When the monsoon failed for the third time in succession, the Maharaja thought of an ingenious plan to ensure employment for his starving population. He decided to build a new palace. Named after him, Umaid Bhavan Palace is one of the largest and most extraordinary private residences in the world, combining diverse architectural styles in a superbly achieved artistic synthesis.
Umaid Bhavan is unique in the sense that it was the last palace, last great palace built before independence. And it was also not just the whims and fancies of my grandfather. He had built it because there was a need to provide labor. It was a labor employment generating project. 3,000 laborers worked for 13 years to complete the project. But at the same time, it is also a work of art, and it also met with the needs of the times, which was an official residence of a Maharaja in the British era.
In its design and construction, Umaid Bhavan Palace combines the Art Deco style of the period with key elements of Hindu temple architecture. Its English architect Henry Lanchester is said to have been inspired in his plans by the glorious temple complex of Angkor Wat in Cambodia, a place that I have often breezed through on the back of the monsoon. Unique in its conception, Umaid Bhavan can seem like an architectural extravaganza. It is a palace that is unabashedly magnificent in scale and in the intricacy of its detailing.
It is definitely a monumental building, and so that feel of being in something special, in something that's going to last for hundreds of years. It is a monument, but you never tire of it. I've done various things. I've even played football in the dome as a child, but every time you enter into that dome, it gives you a very special feeling.
The interiors were designed by Maples of London in the Art Deco style that was the pinnacle of fashion in Europe and America during the 20s and 30s. Tragically, the ship carrying the furniture and fittings was sunk en route by a German U-boat. Fortunately, the Maharaja found a Polish artist who had fled war-torn Europe, a brilliant exponent of Art Deco painting and design. Even today, Umaid Bhavan's Art Deco interiors are among the best preserved in the world. The underground swimming pool, a marvelous example of Art Deco panache, where once royal ladies used to frolic, is now the centerpiece of a well-appointed spa. Art Deco styling provides thematic unity to the palace's redesigned interiors.
Well, basically, it is a palace. It is my home. And we always make it known to the managers that it is not a hotel, it's a palace. We have all our celebrations here in the palace. And we use the public rooms, and the guests are invited to watch from the gallery.
The mystique of the Maharajas has never ceased to cast its spell. Carpets of ivory, pearls and gold, emeralds the size of goose eggs, silver trains that whistled as they carried drinks round the table, cigar boxes playing minuets, swimming pools filled with champagne, Rolls Royces made of gold. The mystique may have faded, but a few great palaces remain. Palaces immaculately refurbished, where the essence of the princely era nestles cozily in the lap of untold luxury. I'm moved, but not sad we've come to the end of this journey. I leave you knowing full well you will surely return. For who can resist the allure of the legacy of the Gilded Age of the Maharajas, their great royal palaces?